Okay, so we're back and we have our three-dimensional shape drawn now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be setting up viewports and a title block for this drawing. So I'm going to come down here to the lower left corner. Notice the black screen here is on the Model tab. This is called Model Space. If I click the Layout tab, this is actually called Paper Space, and it shows the paper where it's going to be. Now your paper space may look a little different. Yours probably looks like this with a little default grid pattern, maybe with the shape in it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to quickly draw a little title block. Oh, let's see here. I don't even remember how tall this is, 1.5 maybe. Oops, put that on the wrong side. There we go. All right, so let's say that this is our standard title block. It's at this point that we want to get this object that we've drawn in 3D into our paper border. And we want to set it up so that we can see multiple views on this piece of paper, so that when we go to print this paper out with our title block and with our border, we can also see these multiple views. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in VP for viewport. And you want to make sure and use the Viewports icon right here. So if I type in Viewports or VP, it'll bring up the shortcut for Viewports, and I'm going to click that. And now it brings up this Viewports dialog box. Now this Viewports dialog box, this is where you're going to set up the parameters of how many viewports you have. Think of viewports like little windows that have cameras that you can zoom in and out. So I'm going to come down here, and right now it's set up for 2D. I'm going to click on, and I can change that setup for 3D or for 2D. And I can come in here and I can set up different ways that it's going to show viewports. So if I wanted, let's say, 3 views, I could put in 3 viewports. If I wanted 4 equal spacings, I could. I can change that back to 2D and put it in that way as well. In this particular case, in 3D, I want 4 equal viewports. And now for my default preview setup here, I want this one to change to the top view. I want this one here to change to the front view, and this one here to change to the right side view. So top, front, right side, these are typical drafting angles or views that we look at objects in. And this fourth one right up here, we're going to be putting into the southeast isometric, and that shows it in that 3-dimensional look. You can also change the style. So right here, if I did not want X-ray, if I wanted it as conceptual, I could change that, or I could change that to 2D wireframe or some other look. So let's say that I want all these as X-ray, and let's say that I want my 3-dimensional view, I want to see that in, oh, let's say conceptual. All right, so now I've got that set up. With the 4 different views. I'm going to click on OK, and it tells me specify the corner. So for this corner on the viewports, I'm going to click from the top left corner right above my title block in the bottom right. And now it's going to pop in these 4 views. Okay? So when I do that, it shows me my top, my front, my right side. Now notice here that each one of these views are zoomed out a little bit. That's not exactly how I want to see them. But I can click on each one of these and go in and access that viewport. And I can actually modify that shape from that viewport. So if I delete out that viewport, it deleted it in all the viewports. Does everybody see that? Let me undo that here. So I've double-clicked in it, and it shows me that I've double-clicked in it, and it can access it by this really thick border right around here. To get out of that, I just simply double-click to get out of that. You need to be careful. You don't want to zoom up in here and double click, because if you do, you can get locked into that viewport, and then you've got to click your paper space button down here to get out. So here's my shape in model space. Let me go back to layout mode, and here's my shape in layout mode. It's at this point that we're going to have to tweak this around just a little bit for your drawing. So I'm going to scoot over these viewports, and then I'm going to scale them to make sure that they print out full scale. So I can select all these 4 at once, and I can grab this corner and drag it over a little bit. And I can actually change all 4 viewports at once. It moves them all automatically. So let me go back into here, into this viewport for the top view. I'm going to double click it, And now I'm going to set a zoom scale. So I'm going to zoom it, and I'm going to hit Z for zoom and hit enter. And notice right down here in the bottom screen, it gives me all these options. One of them is a scale. So I can click on scale, and here I'm going to have to type in 1xp. And 1xp is the scale factor you would use for a 1-to-1 scale. So I can do that with the front view here, zoom scale 1xp, and it zooms that up. Try to make sure you get your viewports in line. You can line up those grid lines. They don't have to be perfect, but you just want to get them close where the edge of this front view is in line with the edge of the top view. Okay. You can do the Z for zoom, and if you don't know where your part is, you can hit something like all or E for extents. And notice whenever I did the zoom all, it put it in the title block, but it's a little bit too large. This one, the front view, is actually set up correctly, but the right side view is scaled it up as big as it would fit in that box or in the viewport. So what I want to do is I want to do that scale, Z for zoom, S for scale, and then I'm going to type in 1xp to make sure that that scale factor is 1-to-1. You can, by the way, set different scale factors. So if you wanted a half scale, you could do 0.5 xp. You could do it for, let's see here, I think it's 0.5. Maybe it's 2 xp. I don't remember now. But you can do it for like architectural drawings for 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. You can do those different scale factors and have it measure when you print out. And so this three-dimensional model, I'm just going to eyeball it and get it close. It doesn't have to be exact. Notice I want it to be a little bit larger. I'm going to have to fit it a little bit better. So I'm going to come back over here and select these windows. And I'm going to drag these windows over a little bit. I'm going to click back in here. And on this one, I'm going to rotate it just a little bit. It doesn't have to be exact. I just want to be able to show it in 3D mode. Okay. So now we have the top view, the front view, the right side view. Their zoom scale 1xp, meaning that they will print out exactly 1-to-1 whenever I print it out at the scale factor 1-to-1. These blocks will show up that way, and I have a little 3D view. Later on, whenever we get into layers, we'll talk about putting these on the depth points layer. You can actually make these not print, and we'll talk about and look at that later on. But for the purpose of this assignment, I want you to be able to see how to put all these views on at once with this one shape showing multiple views here. Okay? All right, any questions?